Because actually this kind of sailing by Chinese Navy would provide to you a chance of soul searching of what you have done to China. Is it friendly that you have sent aircraft and ships so close to China, to make all these provocations? Who did it first?
Who would win?
You would lose, definitely.
大家好，今天要分享的是澳大利亚媒体在今年5月发布的一档时事节目的节选。在这一段视频当中，中国资深的国际问题专家周波在面对澳媒主持人咄咄逼人的对今年2月一支中国舰队巡航至澳大利亚周边海域的质问时，不回避争议，不拐弯抹角，不陷入对方预设的叙事框架，用西方熟悉的逻辑和直白的语言捍卫中国立场，既打破了中式委婉可能带来的解读偏差，也印证了实力为基、话语为刃的国际关系现实。周波1979年参军，大学本科学的是英语专业，后来在剑桥大学拿了国际关系硕士学位，先后在广州军区国防部任职，曾出任中国驻纳米比亚正实职国防武官，并曾是国防大学外军学员硕士导师。退休后，他是清华大学战略与安全研究中心研究员，中国论坛特约专家。周波英语流利，经常在国际会议中接受外媒采访，用清晰且强硬的态度阐述中国立场。我们来看看他在这一段澳媒采访中是怎么说的。
When it comes to China's military and strategic ambitions, few people have more knowledge and experience than former Colonel Zhou Bo. After more than 3 decades serving with China's People's Liberation Army, or PLA, Zhou Bo is eager to defend his nation's massive military build-up and acts of aggression in our region. China has undertaken the most rapid military expansion of any country since World War II. Can you understand why that is a threat to a country like Australia?
No, I don't think you are right at all on this point, because I would argue in a different way that China's rise has been unprecedentedly peaceful. Actually, it's a miracle in human history.
Why does China need the largest navy in the world if its intention is peace?
China's intention is not a secret, because we have made it quite clear that we want to build a world-class military. Being strong doesn't mean that you have to be a hegemon. And this is not the case. There is no proof that China is, becoming a hegemon.
There is, in fact, plenty of proof that Beijing wants regional dominance, combining its vast resources with soft diplomacy across the Pacific to embed Chinese dependency, as we saw in the small island nation of Tonga. But Zhou Bo insists it's simply good business. Isn't the end game for Beijing security agreements? Military alliances?
Not at all. For example, with all these Chinese projects, China, of course, will become influential, right? Yeah, that is for sure. But that does not mean that you are going to establish a sphere influence. Then you would seek alliance. Then you would have allies. Then you behave like the United States. Yeah, and having an allies altogether sometimes sounds good, but actually it's a difficult job. Herding the cats is never easy. So why should China bother with establishing spheres of influence if it is already influential around the world?
So China doesn't need those smaller allies?
I don't think China needs any allies.
It's been described as the most challenging strategic environment we've seen in about 80 years.
Chief of the Royal Australian Navy, Vice Admiral Mark Hammond, is all too aware of the growing threat. Do you think they're preparing for war?
Governments don't invest billions of dollars into military capabilities for no reason at all. And the same is true of us. The Australian government has committed to doubling the size of our surface combatant force and transforming our submarine capability, because our assessment of the strategic environment is that this is a worthwhile investment in the national interest, and alongside our allies and partners, our collective maritime capabilities need to be able to deliver what we call a deterrent effect.
Is that another way of saying we're not quite up to scratch at the moment?
So I would Put it this way, Amelia, my job as the Chief of the Navy is to not rely upon a strategy of hope. My job is to be a pessimist and to try and see the world for what it is, not what I would wish it to be. So my reflex to that responsibility is to assume that things will get worse, not better, and to ensure that the Royal Australian Navy is prepared in all respects for any challenge which may come our way within the resources allocated. Brilliant. Straight inside.
The Chief is keen to show us they're well on their way. Today, we're on the guided missile destroyer HMAS Brisbane, which has just had a considerable upgrade.
When Brisbane goes to sea again, she will be fitted for and capable of firing the Naval Strike Missile, which is one of the most capable anti-ship missiles available right now. And then in late last year, the Tomahawk land attack missile firing conducted by this very ship. So within 18 months, we've transformed a very capable surface combatant into one of the most modern and lethal surface combatants I think we've ever operated.
While the unannounced appearance of a Chinese flotilla in Australian waters back in February has put our Navy on edge, incredibly, former PLA Colonel Joe Bo says it served us right. Would you not describe that as an aggressive activity, a show of force?
I'm glad you mentioned this because actually this kind of sailing by Chinese Navy would provide you a chance of soul-searching of what you have done to China. Yeah, if that makes you to think, I think that is good for you.
He's referring to the Australian Navy's operations in the South China Sea, sailing through the Taiwan Strait to promote freedom of navigation, which Beijing sees as a provocation. So was that retaliation?
Well, I think it's not a kind of retaliation, but it shows you, first of all, if you are talking about a law, Chinese ships also have rights to do freedom of navigation. But if you do not like this concept, then think of what you have done to China. Yeah, and then think about what China has done to you. This is fair.
It's not very friendly, is it, to show up and do live fire exercises? Why wouldn't China warn us?
Well, is it friendly that you have sent aircraft and ships so close to China? Yeah, to make all these provocations? Who did it first? Do not do unto others what you would not do to yourself, right? Historically speaking, you are always fighting other people's war, right? Be it in Gallipoli, be it in Afghanistan, yeah, or even during the Second World War, you're always fighting other people's wars. Why should you always fight other people? Why would you always follow other people's footprint?
Australia has a proud history of defending democracy, and Vice Admiral Hammond says that's not about to change. While he hopes he'll never see his Navy's training and preparedness put to the test in the theatre of war, China's ambitions couldn't be any clearer. The PLA is now routinely rehearsing a blockade of the Taiwan Strait, practicing hitting key ports and energy infrastructure.
I'm all in on diplomacy. I'm all in on deterrence. But I have to be all in on defence of our nation. And that begins with an assumption that despite everybody's best efforts, we find ourselves in a conflict. Okay, and there are 1,000 ways to start a conflict. There's only 2 ways that it ends. And they are, in my view, you lose the national willpower to continue the fight, or you lose the economic ability to continue the fight.
Joe Bo claims that China only wants peace and prosperity, as long as it's on Beijing's terms. And should tensions in the Taiwan Strait lead to war, he has a grim warning for Australia. If that conflict that we've been discussing were to eventuate, who would win?
You would lose, definitely. You don't have enough aircraft, you don't have enough ships, and our military is growing by leaps and bounds. And we are fighting our home turf, and we are determined to safeguard China's sovereignty. On that, you can imagine our soldiers would be brave, and our weapons would be lethal.
Let's hope it doesn't come to that.
Hopefully, yeah.
周波在澳大利亚媒体访谈中的表现，不仅是个人话语风格的体现，更折射出中国国际话语表达的新趋势。当中国的实力不断增强，当民众对西方话语陷阱的认知日益清醒，直白对话以直破局将成为更有效的国际沟通方式。这种方式的核心不是对抗，而是澄清，澄清西方的误解，澄清中国的立场。不是霸道，而是自信，自信于自身的实力，自信于和平发展的道路。在国际关系中，实力是根基，话语是桥梁，发展好自己是底气，而用他们听得懂的话直白地说，是让世界正确认识中国的关键。周波的实践证明，不拐弯抹角的表达才能打破认知壁垒，不回避争议的回应才能赢得尊重。这或许正是中国在国际舆论场中破局的重要路径，以实力为基，以直白为刃，既捍卫主权，又传递和平，让世界真正理解中国崛起的本质，而非被西方的偏见所误导。